Hey everyone, Pastor George here with today's Bible study recap, and today in Bible study we looked at Hosea chapter 4. And Hosea chapter 4 is beginning basically what's going to be the rest of the book, which is God really breaking down his complaint and his solution, or his eventual solution for Israel's failure to follow him. And so you'll remember that Hosea is used, his wife and his family is used to kind of show the situation that has gone on in Israel, right? That people have turned away from following God and have begun worshiping other gods alongside him. So, or actually, it can also confusing him with other gods too. That's really the big thing, is this syncretism that's going on. And so, one of the things that people will often relate what God is doing here too is a legal complaint or a legal case that is being made. And there are some things that I want to point out here, because there is going to be more talk about this going on, but I think in this passage in particular, there are things we're thinking about. And so even though all the people have fallen into them, or at least most people have fallen into this apostasy that's going on, one of the things that God is primarily concerned about, or one of the groups of people, are the priests. And you'll notice that in this, he particularly calls them out, right? He says that they have turned away and that they are perverting justice and not teaching people the commandments, and they have, economic or, gluttonous reasons for doing this. He calls out the fact that they are telling people to sin, or allowing people to sin so that they can get more sacrifices, because part of the sacrifice that you would give would go to the priests, right? Kind of to help keep them alive and their families, which makes sense and is fine in a system that is working well, but you can see how that can be easily abused. I mean, this is just like how people today, pastors and others, will take advantage of people by taking the tithe and taking more for themselves, or giving a bigger budget and for themselves and things like that, in order to really extract money from people, or even to just taking money and running away with it, right? There's a place certainly for the upkeep of people who are clergy and stuff like that. That's not the issue here. The issue is that they're abusing the system and encouraging sin in order to get away with this. And you also see how it's been in other parts of society. So God starts with talking about the priests, but then he talks about the prostitution that's going on and things like that. Interestingly enough, again, all of Israel is going to be judged, but we'd expect, or you would think, that the prostitutes or the women who were engaging in this behavior would be the ones who are going to be primarily responsible. But actually, God points out that it's men, and he's going to hold both responsible, but he's pointing out that just because, it's not the prostitutes who are solely to blame for this, right? It's the men as well are going to them, and he's holding them accountable too. I think that's really important, right? That's in verse 14. So all of this is a prophetic instruction that Hosea is giving about this lawsuit that God is bringing against Israel, that they have violated the covenant. And because they have violated a covenant, there's going to be justice. There's going to be punishment for that. And that's really where Hosea 5 picks up. So that's what we talked about today in Bible study. I also was able to show evidence of this actual thing that's going on, archaeological evidence. I can't show it on here because it's a little too hot for TV, but definitely there is proof, archaeological proof, that this stuff was going on, and you can see this in the text, right? They talk about this like wood, or these poles, and these were called Asherah poles, and there's these Asherah, which is this goddess, was usually associated with Baal, but also, like, we have evidence that she was associated with Yahweh in northern Judea. And so we definitely know that, like, this is something that's happening at the time in the Bible. It's really interesting how the archaeological evidence provided shows that's what's happening, and so it's just really fascinating. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good rest of your Wednesday. I'll see you tomorrow for an episode of A New Thing. Peace out.